An altercation between Carver and Tori took place in the episode of Chicago Fire that aired tonight. He aspired to get better results at work. As a result of the fact that he did not sit out late at a bar with her, she developed an attitude. She never stopped assuring Carver that he had the ability to find another employment. Being a firefighter meant a great deal to him, but she was unable to recognize it. Carver takes great pride in his work. He takes great pleasure in assisting others. It was when Tori first arrived in town that he didn't know where he was going, but now he remembers how much he enjoys his job. He made an effort to convey the information to her. Her aversion to hearing it stemmed from the fact that she did not like the idea of anything or anybody else being significant to him. She desired to be the main focus of his attention, but that was never going to be possible. Carver arrived to his place of employment early. His lieutenant was informed that he had returned, and he assured her that he would not disappoint her once more. The discussion had a recognizable quality. They have experienced it in the past. Carver was aware that he was putting his reputation on the line this time around, and as a result, he maintained his composure. Later on, they received their first call, and it just so happened that Captain Bishop was already present at the site. The state officer made it a point to initiate contact with Kid. She was completely unaware of his identity or the reason he was present. It appeared as though he took pleasure in playing with her. Only at that moment did Kid know that she had just been threatened, but she was unaware of it. Captain Bishop was a sleazy law enforcement officer. He was being investigated by her husband, who was working with their new chief. While working alongside internal affairs, Chief Pascal was also involved. His conversation with Captain Vaughn, who was in charge of that section, was very in-depth. The fact that he was assisting her in making a case was brought to Severide's attention. He desired to assist in bringing the guy down. Vaughn had a conversation with both of the firefighters earlier that day. However, Bishop followed Kid onto a scene, despite the fact that they believed they were being discreet. Claims that he could reach his wife at any time was something that he wanted Severide to be aware of. Both of their families were under threat from Bishop. In spite of the fact that Severide was aware that this would not be the final incident, he continued to proceed with the inquiry with Pascal. The storage facility that had been the starting point for everything was visited once more. In order to construct Phantom firearms, Bishop was making use of one of the storage lockers. A fire broke out throughout the entire complex one day, and the firefighters discovered the firearms. It was reported by them. Bishop took control of the situation. His guys will conduct an investigation, he said. Despite the fact that he put on a show, nothing ever transpired. Evidence was buried by them. On that day, the only witness vanished without a trace. Vaughn came to the conclusion that the individual played the role of a victim and that he was in the process of fabricating ghost firearms for Bishop when something went wrong. Vaughn brought surveillance photographs of Bishop with her when she went by the station. It featured his closest friends and family. The identity of Bishop's criminal informant was recognized by Severide as Ryan. They rescued the individual from the storage locker on that particular day. It was revealed that Ryan's true identity was actually Devin Staples. At a later time, the firefighters were able to question Devin. He came in thanks to Vaughn. The three of them questioned the individual, and he appeared to be terrified. He could not bring himself to compete with Bishop. In addition, he was adamant about not going down for the ghost weapons. In order to give the impression that he was a homeless man who was sleeping in one of the lockers, he claimed to be one. In order to place Devin under custody, neither Vaughn nor the local police had any evidence against him. When he inquired about whether or not he was being charged, Vaughn was compelled to inform him that he was free to depart at any time. Naturally, he accepted her invitation to become his partner. There he was out there. He was most likely planning to flee the scene of the crime. The conversation that the firefighters had with him had frightened him the most. In response to Devin's misdeeds in the storage locker, They informed him that Bishop would be interested in receiving blood. At the time of his departure, he appeared to be in agreement with them because he was looking pale. In addition, it is impossible to predict where he will appear next. Violet, in the meantime, was given a request that was somewhat peculiar. It was her second time dating. Finn gave off the impression of being a decent human being. Mini golf is what they've been doing. Due to the fact that she has not disclosed any information to him, the fact that he invited her to be his date at the funeral of his relative caused her to feel uncertain about their connection. Should she be more forthcoming? In the most recent instance, she was forced to see the passing of her boyfriend in front of her very eyes. The moment Carver returned from Texas with a girlfriend, she was on the verge of having a romantic relationship with him. That is a girlfriend who is extremely difficult. Violet could not be certain of what she desired, so she decided to take a chance. She shared the news about her former partner with Finn. It was clear to him. Additionally, he understood the reasons why a funeral could be upsetting for her. At the same time that he brought her out to grab something to eat, they left the funeral arrangements to the criminals. It has come to light that Finn's family has a complicated history with the law enforcement. During the burial, there was one aunt who was accompanied by an ankle monitor. When Violet arrived at her place of employment, she was still smiling about it. In addition, her new partner had some news. It was Novak's desire for ambulances to transport blood bags. There are other companies who provide paramedic services that do it. Even Chicago was in need of it. Quite a few lives could be spared by it. Interviews were conducted by Novak. The plan of action was written by her. To complete the transaction, all she needs to do is sell it to Robinson. There was not a single firefighter who was aware of Bishop. There was not the slightest bit of anxiety on their part. On the other hand, they were unaware that Bishop had left a letter for Pascal at his residence. Due to the fact that the new chief was concerned about her safety, he had to send his wife to reside with her sister. The fact that Kid is constantly surrounded by her folks led to the conclusion that she is safe. The anxiety that Kid had for Carver was greater than the concern that she had for Bishop. A visit from Carver's girlfriend brought meals for everyone who was present at the firehouse. Numerous friends were formed by her. Also, she made things difficult for Carver to deal with. Tori spent a lot of time broaching the subject of their connection. The next thing she knew, they were yelling at each other and expressing their emotions for one another. The fact that Tori was not a good fit for Carver was obvious to Kid. It was also beginning to dawn on Carver that this was the case. As a means of overcoming Violet, he relied on her support. At this point, he is feeling much better, and he is considering taking a break from Tori. Nevertheless, the firefighters were dispatched to Bishop's residence. Someone started a fire in his vehicle. The entire garage was razed by him. Severide made it a point to answer the phone, and he later discovered that Bishop's garage had a collection of weapons that were forbidden to possess, similar to the fire that occurred in the storage facility. Initially, Severide was under the impression that Devon might have started the fire in order to bring Bishop to light. Just he was in the wrong. Observations were being made of Devon. Not even close to Bishop's house was he situated. Chief Pascal, on the other hand, did not have an alibi, and he was extremely relieved that Bishop was unable to threaten his wife once more. Another way that he and Severide celebrated Bishop's arrest was by smoking cigars. As for Tori, she returned to Texas in order to provide Carver with the kind of space he desired. When Mouch was studying for the test to become a lieutenant, he suddenly experienced a panic attack. He needed to be talked down by crews. Mouch was also informed by him that any crew would be delighted to have him on board. So he needs to make a decision on whether or not he wants to move up the political ladder. And Violet was the one who introduced Finn to her others.